Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. For today's video, I will do something a little bit different. Usually, I read other people's written tales. Here, I wanted to recount near-death experiences I had on 4 different occasions in my life. By the time I started going to school in kindergarten, the only concept of death I had was that there will come a time where each of us will go away and never come back. And now as an adult, I know a little bit more on that subject. I realize now that we can go at any time. I don't know if death is predestined, but it seems to me as if dying can be random as well as an occurrence based on our own actions. I myself have a marked fear of suddenly dying. Enough talk. Here are 4 stories of near-death experiences that happened to me. I used to love going to kindergarten as a kid. I remember my classroom, along with 3 others, separated from the rest of the elementary school, almost as if we were in our own world there. On the first day of school, my mom told me to listen to my teacher and to do all my work there. And that is exactly what I did. Years later, Mom reminded me that when she went to the parents' conference, she overheard a classmate of mine point at me while telling his mom how I memorized the alphabet. From what I remember, my teacher reached out to my mom, as well as 3 of my classmates' parents, for permission to take us 4 to the beach on a day where there would be no school in session. Of course, I was excited to go to the beach with my favorite teacher. On that morning, my mom and I went to go get my lunch from a burger place near our place. When I was dropped off at the schoolyard where my classroom was located, I eagerly followed my teacher to her parked car. I immediately went to the passenger side of the car and waited for her to unlock the car. I looked back and noticed one classmate give me a dirty look. I guess we both had a crush on a pretty blue-eyed teacher. When we arrived, I remember all of us walking to the sand towards the noisy ocean. I looked up at the sky and noticed how the sun was nowhere to be found. I didn't even bother laying out my towel on the sand, as I just ran towards the wet sand path that ran next to the active ocean. When I got there, I noticed how the wet sand was noticeably darker than the dry sand. I decided to walk closer and closer to the roaring ocean water. As I went further out, the ocean became louder and louder. I stood still and noticed a small wave coming towards me. I closed my eyes and wanted to listen as it approached me. Anticipating the loud water and wind crash into my legs, I felt someone push me forward into the ocean. The first thing I noticed was the muffled sounds of water. I then opened my eyes and noticed that I was underwater. More specifically, I saw white bubbles and sand particles mingling together. I felt myself drifting away into the ocean. In my kid mind, I just thought, well, I guess I won't be able to eat my lunch. In what seemed like a few long moments later, I opened my eyes and gazed at the gray, clouded sky. I started coughing up water as I rolled into my stomach. My teacher, along with my other classmates, quickly rushed over to me. She helped me up and asked me what happened. And as soon as I caught my breath, I pointed at the one who gave me a dirty look earlier. He half-heartedly shook his head with a smile creeping up to his face. Already crying, I gasped, "It was you." After receiving the weakest apology in history, we left the beach. As I ate my soggy burger during the ride back to school, I thought about what could have happened. However, I quickly forgot about it as my mom and I were walking home, with me looking forward to playing Nintendo. A couple of years later, after the beach incident, my family was invited to a birthday party at a park. All week we were excited to go to the party on Saturday. For the life of me, I don't remember which exact park we went to for the party. I do remember the party was close to a stream of water. Us kids kept running around, alternating between playing with the playground structures and our water guns. During a break, some of the kids and I decided to walk along the water stream and see where it led to. After a 10-minute walk, we saw that the stream ended on a gray wall. On the other side of the wall was a large body of water. I want to say it was a lake. I suppose the wall acted as a regulator on how much water entered the stream leading towards the inner part of the park. After checking out the lake, we turned our attention to the surface of the water stream near the wall. As we walked along the stream, I noticed that the surface below the water was very shallow. The sun reflected a gray color underneath the water. However, near the wall, there was that same gray path with a large black circle towards the middle. We crossed the stream and stopped just before that black part. Some guessed that the surface was slightly deeper than the rest of the stream, while others were sure that it was a hole leading to the bottom area. After a while, we concluded that it had to be a slightly deeper surface, almost like stepping down some stairs. We decided to cross the stream over the black area, with me at the front of the line. With me smiling up at the sun, I crossed it, and at the moment I stepped on that dark area, I felt my ears fill up with water. With my eyes closed once again, I heard the gentle sound of water flowing around my body. As I opened my eyes, it was dark everywhere. I felt like I was floating still. I then looked up and saw the light. I had no idea how to get up towards the surface. I started panicking when I realized that this underwater experience was carrying on longer than that of the beach. I flapped both arms and legs, and when I noticed that I wasn't moving up, I closed my eyes and flapped harder, almost like my life depended on it. The next moment, I felt 3 pairs of hands dragging me into the side of the stream. I was relentlessly coughing as I attempted to get up. While looking down with my hands on my knees, the kids kept asking me if I was okay. All the while, I was only thinking how I once again evaded the cold, wet fingers of death. How was I able to get up to the surface before running out of air? This question kept nagging at me as I looked ahead. It was at this moment that I noticed a lot of people staring at me. And specifically, there was this cute girl also glancing my way. I then realized that I was soaking wet from head to toe. I then felt utter embarrassment. I told the others that we should head back. I don't remember much after that, other than the fact that one of my brothers got lost. And any anger my mom felt for me almost drowning quickly faded when my brother was found being carted away with the park staff. He sure caught hell that day. During freshman year in high school, I hated PE. Our regular teacher would have us run mile laps around the track. On occasion, we would play football. And of course, I was the one who was completely ignored even though it was wide open on the field. Then there was a 2-week period when our class had a substitute teacher. She was very down to earth with us. She was so cool, she announced that we would be going to the pool inside. I guess our sub hated the heat as much as we did. I remember having so much fun hanging out at the shallow part of the pool. It must have been the second or third day that I noticed my classmates, Anthony and Sergio, hanging out at the deep side of the pool. The following day, again they were the only ones at the end of the pool. The sub didn't pay them no mind. I saw them disappear into the water for about 8 seconds, right before re-emerging back up. Being curious, I swam on the edge of the pool until I joined them. I asked them what they were doing, and Sergio explained that they dive feet first until they reach the bottom surface. I looked over the side of the pool and it had an 8 displayed right above the water level. Anthony asked me if I wanted to try it. I hesitated. Sergio then told him that I was incapable of doing it. And after Anthony recommended that I go back to the shallow side of the pool, I accepted the challenge. So there I was in the middle, looking towards the wall above the pool with our hands firmly gripping the walkway surface just above the water. After Anthony advised me to take a deep breath, Sergio counted down from 3. And as soon as he reached 1, all of us dove into the water. As we sprinted below, I kept staring into the wall and noticed Anthony on my left and Sergio on my right. We kept descending and figured my feet would meet the bottom surface at any moment. And to my dismay, I never felt the floor. A second or two of my legs reaching below, I saw Anthony and Sergio surge upward towards the surface. It took me a couple of moments more to realize that I was about 3/4 the way down into the water, floating completely still. I remembered the last time I was underwater and started flapping both my arms and legs. After making no progress going upward, I once again closed my eyes and flapped harder. As fatigue set in, I opened my eyes, and to my horror, I was still drifting near the wall. At this point, I started reaching above my head and clawed at the wall and tried to climb it towards the top. Panic had already set in as I screamed, naively thinking someone would hear me from down below. But the only thing I noticed were the bubbles that exited my mouth, which quickly went up. The last thought in my head was how the third time was the fucking charm. I started gasping as I started taking in water into my mouth in my attempt to breathe in. However, one of my hands felt a foot from above. I quickly grabbed it and pulled myself upward. And as soon as I reached the surface, I loudly gasped for air. The whole gym pool was silent as everyone was watching us 3. I coughed out water as I tasted the chlorine. As Sergio pointed out that I had snot on my face, both helped me out of the pool. They were wondering why I hadn't resurfaced already. Sergio got scared and quickly decided to dive and reach his leg towards the bottom. Before that day, I never really cared much for Sergio. He was annoying and smug, but I easily recognized that his quick thinking saved my life. I just patted him on the back as we both nodded at each other. Every breath I took felt amazing. Despite having yet another close call, it didn't stop me from going back to the pool the next day. Even though I enjoyed hanging out towards the deep side of the pool, I never dove below towards the bottom of the floor again. This last story happened when I was 10. My mom and I loved going to downtown LA as far as I can remember. Back when she didn't have a car, we had no trouble taking a bus and mainly hung out on Broadway at Woolworths. When my mom got a car, it was even better. One day, we were back downtown looking for a parking spot. We were stopped at a red light. There is a bus on the right lane from us. I noticed how it was creeping forward trying to get a head start before the light turned green. Also noticing, Mom punched it as soon as the light went green. However, the bus driver did not give up and accelerated forward. And despite the driver knowing we were right there next to him, he thought he could cut us off. We then felt something clip us on my side of the car. The car suddenly started losing control and ended up directly in front of the bus. As we felt the bus hit us, I froze. And for the first and only time in my life, I literally saw my life flash before my eyes. I saw my dad tie a couple of balloons on my arm. I saw images of my brothers and I playing around at home. I saw my mom smiling down at me somewhere outside. I saw myself smiling, just being happy. The bus ended up pinning the car into the sideway curb. Aside from a bus supervisor questioning me about what happened, I don't remember much after that. Looking back, I wonder why this bus accident prompted me to experience my life in a flash. While not the scariest near-death experience, I wrote this down mainly because of what I saw in a fraction of a second. At that point, I figured this only existed on TV for dramatic effects. It certainly left me shaken for quite a while after the accident. Has anyone ever experienced this phenomenon known as a life review?